Hello and welcome to a guide on the southwest area of the Eternal Battleground. I'll be looking at the interplay between the towers and the keep, and also the supply camps to a lesser degree. As to my mind, there seems to be some kind of relationship between all of them. It's not just how the towers are themselves and their destructible walls and their gates, it's more who faces who and what the ranges are between them that I find particularly interesting. Because in most cases they're within trebuchet range, so that makes things very interesting. So on the minimap to the southwest area, that's where the spawn point is, and as you can see, that has a good access to that first structural wall, and this structural wall and this gate face towards the keep in the middle there. So what you've got is already an interplay between the keep being able to shoot trebuchet shot at this tower in order to capture it, and also this tower, believe you me, is in range of, well, is able to fire trebuchet shot back out to the keep and can attack the outer walls and the inner walls. So as you come up the stairs into this tower, it's a slightly different design to what you normally see in the towers, in that you come straight up some stairs. That means that the area inside is raised, and that means that a trebuchet or a catapult with its arcing fire is able to shoot out over the walls at much lower powers, so it's more able to defend itself. This spot here, and just coming up to here, again, that's not near the walls, so that means that an elementalist with its AoE ground target effect could destroy a piece of siege equipment that's placed there. This point here probably is attackable from down below. However, it has a good line of sight and is quite close to the keep, so some siege equipment could go up there. That might be the spot where the mortar gets built, although I don't know this tower. Going across this bridge here, there's this whole raised area that is accessible only from this tower. So I can raise any siege that I want up here. I can hit those walls. I can, in fact, defend the tower itself on all of its vulnerable sides with siege equipment placed up here. Now, it's not high enough to be invulnerable to attack from below. Again, Elemental is placing ground target attacks down, so you'd have to build the siege equipment in a little bit. But it is an area from which I can launch a defense. To the keep side there, you can see that I could actually target, mouse over the structural walls. That tells me that they're within catapult range. They're within ballista range even as well. So I can attack that with even short range equipment. The tower to the north there, I believe that's close enough for me to hit the structural walls, which we'll have a look at in a moment, with trebuchet from that raised area as well. So we'll go towards this tower, and there's this raised area in front of us, and this is overlooked again by that raised cliff that we were just on before, so anything built on here can be destroyed, which is good, because the ballistas on here can destroy any siege equipment that you build on those walls, with the exception of the firewall there, because it's got the height, it's got the angle, and therefore it can destroy whatever the defenders have put up on there. So dead ahead of me there was two destructible walls. That's the only two destructible walls on this tower, and they face on the southern side, so they're vulnerable to the tower to the south, but also they're vulnerable to attacks from the east, so attacks from the blues. There's no destructible wall on the other side because the other side faces the castle, and that's a theme with the towers that are closest to the castle. They don't have destructible walls on that side, but they can shoot the destructible walls on the castle. So it's all about being able to attack but not be attacked. So there's always pressure on the castle. So that's how this design seems to go. Now there's nowhere except the walls in this tower to put siege equipment up to fire over the cliff to hit that castle. So any siege equipment built here is vulnerable to attack from elementalist fire and other ground target AoE. That area on the end there, that's not where the mortar gets built. The mortar's actually more further into the tower. But that area there could have had a trebuchet built on it, and that can hit the structural walls of the keep. Only the outer walls though from that range. So here we have a gate. an underwater gate. Now, all the keeps in the Eternal Battlegrounds have underwater or underground approaches. They're like secondary approaches to the area. I just check in there to see where I can get underneath. And Azura may be able to. Probably not, but you never know, they are small. And then just around the other side here we also have another gate underwater and another way in. Now later on I'll have a little look to see where they pop up exactly, but for now we're just going to go away and have a little look at the front of the keep area here. Now, there's another tower, we'll be going there soon. And that's got two areas jutting out. I'm just going underneath one of them right now, and on the end of those are cannons. So that's a defensible point there, and that's facing the castle, but again it's out of trebuchet and mortar range. Now there's a well there, and there's a well there, and that's where you pop up if you go through the gates that were underwater. So we'll just have a little look under there, but in theory you'll definitely face NPCs when you pop up in the middle, and if the keep's being defended properly you'll be not knowing where to go because you should be surrounded by siege equipment on all sides. Now I tried to place a trebuchet down here to see where I could place siege equipment. Perhaps it was the height of the trebuchet that wouldn't let me place it. More likely I guess that you can't place siege equipment underwater. So I'm betting those gates are fairly vulnerable to normal attacks. Now whilst it's likely that you can actually get right up to those gates before you're noticed the moment you start to attack, you will draw attention. Now these walls are vulnerable, and that gate I can highlight with my mouse. So that's within ballista range, it's within catapult range of these walls, and of the inner walls of the keep is probably within trebuchet range. So that's something to bear in mind. So that tower can attack the keep again, and the keep can attack the tower. So as we move north to have a little look at the gate, give you an idea of the size of this keep, you can already see the way that they're interplay between each other. So it's quite hard to get a foothold in this area if there's a decent defense in this keep. If there's a decent presence here, you should be able to retake any towers that you might lose. In fact, you should be able to stop the enemy from destroying the doors and walls of most of the towers. Where I'm standing now, that's where a mortar gets built. That mortar can strike the tower to the east. It can strike the door of the tower to the east, in fact. You can build trebuchets up here as well, and if you look straight out, you can see there, that's the gate. So you can hit that from here. And so to the east again, you've got the interplay between the keep and the tower. Now there's the structural walls there. This is the inner keep that we're approaching. Now I don't actually go inside here, but what I can tell you is there's two mortars in here, one of which is above and behind me now. And again, here I can mouse over that, so I can put catapults down here to attack the walls of that tower. And absolutely that tower can destroy the walls, both outer and inner, of this keep, so that's a particularly powerful location. Same with the tower to the northwest there. So that's something to bear in mind. But just around here, this little area here, you could put trebuchet up here to attack this tower if you wanted. It's not near the edge, therefore an elementalist, so long as your outside wall is intact, won't be able to destroy it, because it won't be able to get it with the AoE that the ground target meteor shower thing does. Now we're just going to have a look at this little tower, but one thing I will say is that if you are going to populate the keep or the towers with placed siege, like trebuchets and catapults, you need to go back to it every half hour, otherwise it will just disappear and it'll be a waste. Okay, that wall's vulnerable. The wall is vulnerable again because it faces the southwest spawn point. So again, this tower has a vulnerability to allow people to break out of that area should they become penned in. Now the area to the right here that has them run up these ramps, that's away from the walls, so a possible area to place a trebuchet or a catapult. I'm looking at here towards the supply camp because you should be able to place a trebuchet shot over that both incoming and outgoing. And this area here might have a mortar built on it, but you can certainly put a catapult here to rain fire into that supply camp. So if people are trying to take this tower, they could capture that supply camp and launch an attack from there. Vice versa, you could launch an attack from this tower against that supply camp. So it's interesting if you look at the area in between here and that supply camp. There's nowhere that's safe if that keep has trebuchets up. So the only real way to attack this tower, if that keep is in fact controlled by an enemy, by a friendly force, is to attack from the supply camp there. So then you'd have a two-way fight on your hands. In fact, this is the corner that I think is most vulnerable to the southwest area as a whole. Now we're approaching the northern tower. Now that area just above me here, that again, you can have an elementalist placed down meteor shower, so any siege built on there is vulnerable to attack from below. Now that's the gate through there, and that's particularly hard to hit from long range because there's these two bridges above it. So we go inside, have a look around. That's the only destructible wall. As with this northern tower, the eastern tower, the destructible walls never face the castle. I think that's the same for, if not all, then most of the towers that are nearest to the castle. That green area there is an excellent place for placing a trebuchet to hit those walls. The castle walls there, you see. Now, come around here, oh little fella. Again, the rest of these walls are all vulnerable to attack from below. And if you look there to the right, you'll see that there's a tunnel, and that tunnel will allow an enemy to come through there and attack that vulnerable wall. So you might not even see them coming. And if you try and attack them back into there, that's an NPC area that they will probably hold if they're coming out of there. So they'll have friends in there if you try and chase them back in. And this area here is where the mortar's placed, which, as I said before, is vulnerable to attack from below. And there is the supply camp, which again, this area is probably vulnerable to attack from. So it's quite vulnerable to the eastern side. It's not vulnerable to, it's quite vulnerable to the western side. It's not so vulnerable to the eastern side. It is an area from which you can launch an attack against the castle. Now that end point there where the mortar was, it can't reach the castle from there. It can reach the gate of the keep. So this this tower is one of the ones, again it can hit the keep, but it's a little bit strange because I don't think, well it might be possible, from that bridge in fact, for a trebuchet to strike the far walls on that tower, but it's particularly hard to defend from the keep, so that's probably the most vulnerable point in the whole southwestern area. So I'm going to have a little look at the castle side that faces the southwestern area to give a little bit of an idea of what you're actually working up towards. And there's a cannon firing there. There would be one on the opposite side. There's a mortar would be up and to the right of that gate there. Again, as usual, there's some oil above it. What you don't see is that this whole area is covered by about another 4 mortars. So trust me when I say this is not as easy to take if it's properly defended as you might think it is. That said, it takes a lot of people to defend it properly, because what should be happening is that you're attacking from this side, one of the other teams will be attacking from the other side, so the forces inside should be spread. So I've had a look at that. I'm going to go down and have a look at this tower again. Now this wall, as I said before, is not vulnerable to attack from this side. It is possible, however, to put trebuchet on that and attack the castle. Now the gate here is the nearest point of attack for people coming out of the castle should they decide to push out and try and make a dent into this southwest area. But in order to get the angle to attack that with long range or short range siege weapons, you're going to come into range of fire from the keep and again from the tower defending itself. So this one is a more secure area than the northern tower.